Welcome to Gen Z Hoops, the Gen Z basketball, coaching, and sports business show. On this podcast, you'll learn from professional players, coaches, and executives from all over the world and see the court in a brand new way. And now, joining you courtside, your Gen Z host, John Hartofilis.
Hey, Zach, what's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Doing awesome. Super excited to talk to you and another fellow like-minded, young professional that's just absolutely killing it. It's obviously refreshing to talk to someone that's also, similar age, doing their thing in the industry and setting themselves up for a huge success. It may, even the next few weeks, months, but obviously we're thinking years down the line. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome. So just to jump right into it, being a college student, you have a lot going on outside of the sports industry, but also like in your school, you're pursuing a sports management degree at FSC. You've been working with the Lakeland Magic. Like, what's your college experience kind of been like leading up to this?
Well, so freshman year, I had pretty much the traditional college experience. I was not rostered, so I was doing my own training. So that was just a couple hours a day. Working hard, but it's really make my own schedule. So I had a lot of free time, living in a dorm, going to classes, just basic college stuff, going out on weekends. I mean, I'm not a big partier, so I go out maybe a couple times a month, but just living the traditional college life. But sophomore year, which is what I'm in right now, I'm on the team, on the baseball team. I got 4 to 5 hours a day of baseball. Since last year, since I was living the college life, I got a job with the Lakeland Magic. So I had time because I was only doing their home games. I was a team attendant, helped out with whatever they needed, had to show up 2 hours before the game, stay an hour after, just 5-hour days. So I had the time, and that I'd been doing that until COVID hit, and then we were all shut down.
Definitely a lot going on. And it's funny because people always talk about how being a student athlete, it's like working 2 full-time jobs because you're a student and you're an athlete. But now you also have an actual an actual job with the Lakeland Magic. Yeah. So you're working 3 jobs. So that's obviously a lot to handle. And it's awesome hearing you talk about it. Just for people, because it's funny, a lot of my friends, right, are all sophomores, juniors in college. And they're all seeing maybe what I'm doing, what other people are doing. They're like, how do you even get jobs in the industry like that? How, where do you even find them, right? I'm curious. Was it like in terms of you getting your foot in the door at the Lakeland Magic? Was it LinkedIn, networking? Like what avenue did you kind of go through to kind of just get your foot in the door?
So I'm very fortunate to have an uncle who is the president of the Milwaukee Bucks, Peter Fagan, and he has some connections with Orlando because the current GM of the Orlando Magic, John Hammond, was Milwaukee's GM who drafted Giannis, and so the 2 organizations have a pretty big, a close connection. So he contacted his people there. They got me an interview. And then from there, I pretty much took over. He got me a foot in the door. Then I got the interview, got a job as a retail manager for their team store. That lasted about a week until I was promoted to basketball operations, where I was on the court and working with the players instead of just in the organization. So yeah, that's how it started. He got me there and then I took over.
Of course. And that's what I'm really curious about. So you're a retail manager now for a week and then you get promoted. So obviously you overperform there. People forget that, right? People just think that, okay, I'm doing this, whatever, whether it's retail managing or something else, right? Let's say for me with coaching, it's, I'm an assistant and I'm getting the pizza orders or doing, locker room stuff. You think of it as, less than or work that doesn't really matter. But when you overperform, that's when you get rewarded. So I'm curious, what were you doing to really stand out and show that you were ready to get that huge promotion so soon after that?
So I thought I was just going to be doing folding the clothes and doing pretty much the bare minimum. I'm the new guy. I do the dirty work. So that's what I was expecting. But then it was there was a promotional event where season ticket holders had this special package and I was going out of my way to assist everybody, make sure they're getting exactly what they want, what they can get, taking them to their seats. And I thought that was my job. When I have a job, I got to be the best at it. I'm a competitive guy and I always got to do it to the best I can. And apparently I was going above and beyond. They noticed it. Then they assigned me to do something else where it was just another promotional thing that was optional, not really what the retail guys do. But then they just really liked my work ethic, my personality, and they wanted me to have a bigger role.
Awesome thing about how you were able to stand out so soon. Now I'm kind of thinking, when you were with Lakeland, what was your initial thing? Obviously now you're in the bubble. Can't wait to talk about all the amazing stuff doing there. Obviously being 19 in the bubble, it's super, super unique. But even before, so with the Magic, with the Lakeland Magic though, what were you doing there leading up to this?
As a game attendant, most of the game attendants are just ball boys, floor moppers. But I have basketball experience. I've played, I'm always involved in it. And so I know a little bit about coaching and how to work with the players. So there's a 99-minute clock that goes down before every game. And in that 99 minutes, you got the guards that come out to get the pregame shots, the forwards, the big guys. And so what they wanted me doing was, instead of like filling up their Gatorades, which I would do, that's how I started, like filling up the Gatorades, taking their drink requests, handing out towels. They had me actually working on the court with the players, being a defender, setting screens, passing them, rebounding the ball for them. And I came close with a couple of the players, and we like had good relationships off the court too. So I was pretty much like being a defender for them. Sometimes I would switch over to the visiting team, and the visiting team would use me as a defender, screen man, whatever they needed.
No, super cool. And obviously a great experience, both, utilizing your basketball knowledge to then also put it into practice to help out guys in the G League that are, obviously at a super high level, getting ready to hopefully play in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. So you've been doing it for less than a year. I'm thinking now, like, you're talking about all these progressions you've made. I'm like shocked now. How long did it take for you to go from being on the court and being a screener in warm-up drills to now you're doing the scorebook? A lot must have happened there.
I mean, yeah, like it took me 2 weeks to get from retail to on the court. It took me probably a month to get from filling up the water bottles to being on the court defending them, where they would seek me out to get me on the court. That lasted until March. That was like December 2019 to March 2020. Then we got shut down. I was I always got to be doing something. I always got to be working. If I'm not doing anything, I feel like I got no purpose, or like I have a passion for this stuff, so I got to always do it. So then the second the season started, or even before, when I found out the Raptors were coming down to Tampa, I immediately thought the part-time guys that are there, they're not the kids that live in Toronto. They're not coming down to Tampa for an entire season. They got lives, they got college or whatever they got. So I figured they would need some people. So I was contacting them, seeing what I could do. We were in touch for a couple days, but then it kind of fell through. So then I was kind of out of an option. So then I went to Orlando because Shelly Wilkes, who was the president of the Lakeland Magic, got promoted to SVP of the Orlando Magic. So I had a connection in that organization. And the Lakeland and Orlando organizations are really tied together. It's really well run. So I contacted them, and the first few days I was working for Orlando, and that was back in October, November, right when the season was starting. I was doing like guest services, helping out, setting up the arena, and then with the new COVID protocols. At the beginning of the season, Orlando was one of 6 teams to allow fans. So they were really strict. They had like an app and health and safety protocols they had every fan go through. So I was helping out with that. But then they wanted to move me into a more full-time position, and I was really excited about that. And then the NBA cracked down on the rules with COVID, and then they told me I couldn't work there because they had to like limit staff. So then that same day, as I'm like on the phone with my mom telling her like, yeah, it didn't work out, what am I going to do now? I get an email from someone who was running the G League bubble. They said I was referred by one of my Lakeland guys, one of my bosses in Lakeland, to come do this. So being like the work that I've been doing and the relationships I've been making got me this job.
Clipping this, I'm showing this whenever, whether it's the kids I coach or my friends, it's like, dude, how do you do this? You just literally outline the whole thing. And obviously it's crazy. I mean, most people, it takes a couple of years for this to happen. When an opportunity preparation, good stuff happens. So obviously the opportunity had to come to where, okay, there needed to be a bubble, or where a Toronto team came down, and stuff like that obviously happens. But you prepared for it to be ready. So when it happened, you were good to go. So tell us, like, what's it like in the bubble now? Obviously, everything's, whether it's the NBA bubble, the WNBA bubble, the G League bubble, they're all super different. But, obviously so many strict protocols going on.
So you got to get tested every day you go in. And it's, so what I thought, it was like a rapid test. So you get tested, you wait 10 minutes and then you go. But the NBA, they don't trust how like the low accuracy rate. So it's a PCR test. It's a 24-hour test. So you test, like if my first day was a Wednesday, you got to go in Tuesday to get tested so you can go Wednesday. Then on Wednesday, you're getting tested for Thursday. So it's like that. Being played in a tournament style. So there's a 17-game season, and it's 6 games a day, and they're using 2 arenas, the same 2 arenas that the NBA used. So you got an 11 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 7 o'clock tips in one arena, then 11:30, 3:30, 7:30. And so you're in one arena the entire day, and you get there 2 hours early. So I live 45 minutes away. I'm getting up 8:15 to get there at 9 a.m. Then I'm working the 11 o'clock game. That goes until about 1:30. Then you got an hour and a half to get lunch, which they're providing it's unbelievable what they're providing the employees. Like really good food, really good conditions. You get an hour to eat, then you go back to game 2, same thing. You get dinner after from like 4:30 to 5:30. Then you get back at 6. 7 o'clock game goes till 9:30. Close out 10:30, and you're leaving by 11.
a lot going on there. And obviously when you're doing something historic, like, this is obviously the first ever G League bubble on the heels of the first ever NBA bubble. Obviously it's going to be a little crazy. I would say got promoted, just recently to scoreboard and stats. What's your job there? What does the team look like around you? How does that all work?
When they were recruiting their team, we have like a 17-person team that like we have game attendants, statisticians, scorekeepers, and they wanted people with experience doing scorebooks. And then in high school, like I would do some of the my varsity games. I'd be a statistician, scorekeeper, whatever. And so I was a part of like the 5 or 6 that had experience doing scoreboard stuff. So it started Wednesday and Thursday, I was just a game attendant, like sitting on the side, mopping the floor, doing whatever. And then on Saturday, they brought me in as a scorekeeper. So I'm doing the entire scoreboard. I'm in communication with the refs. I got the headset on, like there's a bunch of different channels. I hear the commentators, TV production telling me when to cue it. And it's a pretty big responsibility, but the team around me is just unbelievable. It's like the guy who sits next to me is in his 60s or 70s. Like these are like full-time adults who have years of experience and their knowledge is just incredible. And they're all so like willing to share and help me out. And so the way it works, there's a big sheet of plexiglass that's on one of the sidelines. There's probably 15 people socially distanced sitting along it, like the entire span of the court. On the left, you got like 6 or 7 statisticians who like live update, like when you see the box score on NBA.com or whatever, they're doing it. They're doing play-by-play, calculating every stat imaginable. They're great. Then you got a shot clock operator. Then you got the game clock operator. Then you got me, there's like 4 people in my position because everyone's rotating games and there's 6 games a day, 7 days a week. So they need a bunch of guys for that. So then you have the scorekeeper, which is what I've been doing. Then you have the official statistician who's writing in the book. Then you have the public address announcer who's announcing like the free throws and substitutions and everything. They're always great. And then to the right of him is TV production. And then, there's like the two monitors and then 2 people monitoring TV production. And then you got the guy next to him who's like the official producer of the game. And then above us is the in-arena entertainment, like the music and the crowd noise. And so it's a really big team. And then the refs will always come and communicate with us and they do an unbelievable job as well. It's like, it's all such a well-running team.
I'm curious though, like how's networking like there in the bubble? Obviously it's tough to really get to know people, obviously with all the COVID restrictions, but how do you kind of navigate that and get to talk to people in your position, the people next to you? How does that all work?
So there are 4 tiers of like clearance levels. Tiers 1 and 2 are players, coaches, and then like management who are like running around the arena, going everywhere. Tier 3 are the courtside staff. And then tier 4, I would assume is like camera crews and music producers who half of them get tested, half of them don't, because the half that don't are like in the second deck, nowhere near anybody. So it's not really an issue. But my group, I'm tier 3, so I'm cleared to be on the court. They try to limit interactions with players, obviously, but like my group, we're always working, but we do have like transition downtimes where we're like, when there's 45 minutes before the game, where most of the players have gone back to the locker rooms and they're getting like just prepared for the game. We're just like standing around waiting. So we like get to talk, and then we're there 2 hours early. So for 2 hours, we're not obviously like sprinting the entire time. So we have time to talk. Like I met my team, like my group of people 5 days ago, but it just feels like we've known each other forever because we've been working 15-hour days for the past week. So like even last night, I spent the night at one of their places because we just like after the game, we all went back to their place, just hung out. And it's great. Like I'm networking, I'm making new connections, new friends. And it's an unbelievable experience.
Nothing really like it. I can imagine it's tough to put it into words. Curious now, how does this kind of line up with baseball, what you're doing there, schoolwork? Like, how do you kind of balance it all while you're in the bubble?
So with baseball, we unfortunately have night practices, so that interferes. So today I drove back from Orlando to Lakeland, which is a 45-minute drive. Had my first class, which I did on Zoom in the car. Probably shouldn't have, but after that, for these next 2 hours, I'm doing this with you. And then I got a class at 1:30. Then I have team weights at 3, and then practice from 6 to 9. So today I obviously can't work. So I'm doing like 4 to 5 days a week in the bubble. Wednesdays were off. So I do my classes from Zoom in the arena. Like I'll just find downtime to do it. And then weekends I do it. But like on weekends we have morning practice. So I'm going from morning practice, I race home, shower, change, head to the bubble. So I'm like from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. baseball, 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. work. I have no free time, but I wouldn't want any other way. Like this is how I want to spend my time.
100% when it's something you love and it's something you enjoy doing. You're not going to want to rather watch Netflix than do what you're doing, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's obviously really cool. One last question before we wrap up. You've obviously progressed so much recently to where I'm thinking like maybe by next week you'll be running the whole course. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe in a month I'll be like, oh my friend Zach, the GM of the Lakeland Magic. I have no idea. what's going to happen. But right, what's your long-term plan now? I mean, we've talked about all the cool stuff you're doing now. Obviously, this is all setting you up for big time success in the next however many years. What does that look like for you? I'm
just trying to get as much stuff on my resume, get the most experience, and separate myself from my other people my age with the same goal. Because long-term, I'd love to be a GM, and if I can. And I do think that's realistic. Like I talk to my coworkers, like I ask them what their dream is, and then they'll tell me something that's probably like a little unrealistic. Like I want to be the owner of the Lakers or something. But me, I do think that being a GM is a realistic goal for me because of how much work I put in, how willing I am and my passion for it. And I do think like I am good at it. I want to be a GM, and I'd like to be the youngest GM to like ever be. Like I think Kobe Altman has that at 34. I want to be the youngest hired GM. And currently I'm the youngest official scorekeeper for the NBA or the NBA G League. So I have that under my belt, but all my coworkers I'm the youngest person in the bubble, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, and Zach, obviously I relate so much to everything you're saying in terms of, I feel like whoever knows me personally that listens to the podcast is going to text me in the middle of listening to it and go, why did you clone yourself and bring yourself on your own podcast? Like, you're not like, that's not how a podcast works. You can't talk to yourself because you literally are saying exactly what I tell. Like, this is literally, it's like talking to myself. It's crazy.
I was going to say, like, when I first saw your podcast, I saw somebody like it on LinkedIn and I was like, this guy is just like me. He is like a trendsetter. He is ahead of his age. He is like wise beyond his years. So that's why I reached out. Like, I think you're doing the exact same thing as I am, trying like separating yourself from others our age.
100%. That's the whole thing I say with the podcast. And it's not like it's not to make it some huge competition, but that's what this is all about. It's like, okay, how do you stand out? Everyone always like that, whether it's in my sports business club, right? Everyone always tells me, oh, you had Tommy Shepard on your show, right? You should ask him for a job. It doesn't work to where like you just do that. Like I need to prove myself first, and then like all that good stuff's gonna happen. It's not just, that's not what networking is. It's just asking. Is it asking? You got to be able to. It's got to be a two-way street. And this is my way. I hope of doing a good job of presenting. Hey, look, I know the game, or I can network with people, or I could do this. And obviously you're doing that too, and you're killing it on a stage like the bubble. It's definitely gonna get noticed, and I really can't wait to see obviously how this all comes full circle for us. I mean, we'll definitely obviously be keeping in touch going forward. But I'm thinking to myself like, wow, like we're like the things that are gonna be happening. It's like crazy to think about. We a lot of times as people overestimate what we can do in a year, but underestimate what we can do in a day. Right? Mm-hmm. Like you could do so like today, like you're obviously doing so much. Whether it's other podcasts to record today, like the schedule just it has to be booked or else you're not moving anywhere. Yeah. So obviously can't wait to see what all this stuff we're doing now turns into in no time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. In the bubble, like when we're like jam-packed, like no free time, I have a friend and coworker who she has goals of being like a sideline reporter, and pregame she's like getting footage and like getting practice interviews in. And it's like, it's amazing that we're doing so much in this bubble. And like, we already have the opportunity to do it, and they're doing even more to go above and beyond. It just shows like the potential that some people have and the work ethic that it takes.
100%. I mean, it's so inspiring to see it. Love hearing from it. And Zach, thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome. This is going to be one of those episodes that I clip a bunch of times and send out, because people ask me this, I'm telling you all the time. So now instead of me telling it to them and spending all that time, I'm going to just let you tell it to them again, obviously post podcast. So thank you so much for, obviously now you're giving me back time, because you literally just articulated everything I've ever thought when it comes to what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same goals.
Thanks for listening to Gen Z Hoops. Make sure to follow, like, and subscribe on Instagram, LinkedIn, and all major social media platforms at Gen Z Hoops. You can tune in and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and and every other podcast platform on the planet. Get ready for the next episode.